everybody, welcome back Coast to Coast Fishing. I'm Aaron, if you're new to joining us. I do all sorts of videos for fishing, cooking. We like smoking stuff on the smoker, and a new thing that I'm going to start to do is a little tackle time with Aaron. So this will be the first installment of a few things. I get a lot of questions on like, how do you rig things? How do you rig ballyhoo? How do you rig up some of the lures you have? What knots do you tie? Do you like using three-way swivel rigs, or do you like a sliding three-way swivel setup for muttons? Leader length, anything like that. Any questions on gear? I am going to kind of go through, do small little things here and there, and just show you kind of what we have going on. And hopefully it puts together a whole series of different things that will teach you. And if you have any questions, comment. And if I have it here in the tackle room, as you can see, this is my office, this is where I work from, but it's also surrounded with fishing poles and tons of gear. So I love gear. I'm an engineer, so I love anything that has to do with tackle, gear, and what's going to get the job done most efficiently. I feel like every species, kind of a different setup is better than others, so I like to have them all. We are going to the Keys next week. And a couple months ago, I was sitting there thinking how we troll usually pretty small lures when we're down there. We'll be out in 1,000 feet of water and we're trolling, little 3-inch, 4-inch, maybe 5-inch trolling lures. I like ballyhoo. We'll rig up ballyhoo. We'll troll rig ballyhoo around. Always works. That's what's there. That's what those fish are eating. But one thing I wanted to try was something a little bit bigger. Since we're out there, there's been 3 times in the Keys where I've had marlin come up behind the boat, big blue marlin. They've hit our spread. They've knocked off 40-pound test. They just clip it, like they come through and whack the ballyhoo and just work their way through the spread and just mess up everything. And so I was thinking, why not go with something bigger? I've trolled these big lures in Cabo. These are 15-inch lures that I've got, so rather large, big skirted, big headed lures. These, I'm going to rig them out with 300-pound tests. You could probably go more, which is probably better for some marlin, but for what we're doing, I'm going to use 300 pounds. So they're 15-inch. I got them from Honu Lures. I actually found them on eBay. They're out of Southwest Florida, I believe. Reasonable price on them, and I figured I would rig them out the way I wanted to anyway. So just got the lure itself, not rigged out. So we're going to use 300-pound Momoi. That's pretty much the line I go with now on anything. So this is going to be 300 pounds we're going to put on here, and then that is going to get crimped on both ends, and then we'll get the offset right on the hook. And I went ahead and bought some pre-made hooks. So I believe these are 12-aughts, if I remember right. Really sharp. They've got the braided stainless. I'm assuming it's stainless, might be titanium, in between the two, and then they have the shrink wrap already on here. So one thing you want to do is you always want to keep the hook and everything and the wire as straight as possible when you're trolling these bigger lures. Some people like to run them up like that. Some people like to run them down like that. If you can get the front here to actually stick into the back of the lure itself. So a lot of them have rubber kind of butts that go in here, and if you can see right here, usually you'll have like a rubber piece. And what that'll do is that'll let you orient that hook setup however you want, if you want to run it up or you want to run it down. I don't have the rubber pieces built on here, so what I'm going to do is I'll probably put a bead just to keep the crimp from banging against this hard plastic. And then I'll just kind of let it run wherever it is. I'm not a professional marlin guy. I'm hoping, huge Mahi or maybe even a Wahoo, or maybe we do see a marlin come up and hit this. But just wanted to pull something that is a little bigger bait profile. So, as you can see on this one, we'll rig this up too. Imagine that going through the water. That has the coloration of a bonita. Kind of has the stripes on the bottom side, got that blue, pink, purple, and that head going through the water and that shine. Hopefully it's bright daylight. That's going to get a lot of action. That is going to leave a huge shadow as it goes over the top of a fish. That shadow is that fish is going to be sitting down there looking up at. So a little bigger profile usually will bring up the bigger fish. So I'm going to rig these out. I'll show you how I do it, how I like to do it. I'm sure there's a million other ways to do it, but I know this method will work because I've rigged up quite a few lures like this and caught a bunch of fish on them. So, all right, we're going to rig these out real quick. And the first thing I did was I clipped off it's probably about 7, maybe 8 feet of that 300-pound Momoi. You can go bigger, you can go smaller, whatever you prefer. I have 300-pound here. I know 300-pound will hold up to just about anything, unless it's, you know, big Wahoo and razor sharp teeth. Nothing really holds up to that besides, you know, braided wire or, you know, the stranded wire. First thing I'm going to do though is I am going to feel out where exactly this hook needs to set within this skirt. So the way it happens, what you want it to be, is when this is sitting up in here and that skirt is hanging directly down, you can see that this has about an inch of this hanging back here. So this needs to stand out probably to about there. Now you can always trim up your skirt too, that you can cut off as much as you want. You could make this 5 inches if you wanted to. I want the bigger profile, so I'm gonna set this hook basically right in the back here where this is still able to get out of it, out of the skirt itself. And then that will run almost perfectly. So when that fish comes up to eat from behind here and he grabs on, he's gonna get some metal in his mouth, and that's what you want for your hookup. So what I'm gonna do is, if you look at that, I've got about, maybe 1.5 inches to there. So I'm gonna make sure I'm putting 2 crimps. I'm gonna make sure to put about 1.5 inches on my crimp that's further up from here. I'm gonna put that second crimp about 1.5 inches. So what that'll do is, that'll offset me from the backside of the head of the lure to where I want the backside of my hook to be. And then that will give me the offset to the back of the skirt. So we have this here. So first thing I'm gonna do is slide on these 2 crimps. So make sure you size your crimps right. If you don't size your crimps right, there's no reason to do it. You are going to lose a fish, it's gonna slip. They are made for certain sizes. These are, I can't even remember what they are, 1.7, something like that, whatever it is for 300 pounds. So we're gonna put 2 of those in a row, okay? Then I have a little bit of chafe guard here. So this chafe guard, what this will do is this will protect that mono from getting chafed on the backside of the metal of the hook. So when that stranded wire comes through there, that chafe guard will sit right inside there, so those 2 are rubbing together. So now I'm just gonna run that through and bring that back down through my 2 crimps. And give it a little more, just so you can clip it off when you need to. Okay. So that's there. You can see that chafe guard. Once I pull that around, I slide that crimp up here. That chafe guard is gonna meet up with the chafe guard that was already on the pre-made hook here. So there's my first one. It's about as tight as I can go there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my second one up. I'm gonna get that one through the top side. So like I said, about 1.5 inches off. That's almost perfect for how far I want it to be if I just put those in a row here. So what I'll do is I'm gonna crimp these on here. I'm gonna cut this down, and then I'm actually going to burn just a little bit of that mono. Make sure the tag in. You never want to put any sort of burn or anything or nick into this. This is your main line. If anything happens like that, you're gonna lose the fish because that's a weak point in the line. So I'm gonna clip that off right there. Actually, I'm gonna crimp them first. And when you crimp, make sure, get my crimpers here. Make sure you use the right size of crimp. So that I'm between a 1 and a 2 here. And you wanna make sure you go this way on it, if you can see it. So see how, the 8 is basically perpendicular to the jaws? That's the way you want to crimp it. You don't want to crimp it the other way. A lot of people will put it through there, but that's going to slip on you. So I'm going to crimp that down. Okay. And then I'm going to move it, because this is a longer crimp, I'm going to move it further down. Same spot. And one thing too is you don't want to go all the way to the edge. If you can see that. See how I leave a little bit of gap to the edge? If you go on the edge and you pinch that end of the crimp together, that's gonna make a sharp point from that metal onto your mono, and that's gonna wanna cut into the mono. So you don't wanna do that. You wanna make sure you're in just a little bit. That'll actually flare out that crimp and make sure that you're not doing any damage to the main line or the tag line that you've run through there. So just glue that sucker down. A lot of people would have a certain amount of pressure that they would put on there, but then as you can see, you've got one that's crimped up. So I'm gonna run this other one tight, make sure that's good. Got your chafe guard, got your offset crimp, and then this is the one that actually is gonna hold quite a bit. So make sure you're in the 1 to 2 slot. Offset it in a little bit and squeeze. All right, now I'm gonna move that down. Offset in a little bit and squeeze. Okay, perfect. Now what I'm gonna do, so you can see that there, got 2 crimps. Now this here, I'm gonna clip this off. I've got some cutters built into the side here. All right, so that's crimped, that's cut. And then what I'm gonna do is you wanna pull your main line out of the way. You just wanna kiss that mono just a little bit. All right, so your main line's good. That mono's gonna stick out, and you can see that actually mushrooms out the end of that. So if this ever were to pull, which there's 2 crimps on it, 4 times that it's gonna pull, that will actually catch. So that little mushroomed out part will actually catch in there. So that is tight, that is good. All right, so I don't have any beads that are big enough right now, so whatever, we're just gonna keep moving. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is take your skirt, take your main line from the backside, run that down in there. So that will get all the way up and through, and then just pull that out and tight. All right, so we're pulling up and tight here. Now, what a lot of people do is you can come in here with black tape, you can come in here with more shrink tape. You wanna try to keep this as straight as possible so that this hook and everything runs true. So all this right here, what I would usually do is we can just wrap it with electrical tape, and that'll keep that nice and tight, keep it from wanting to get kind of crazy going through the water. As of right now, I'm just gonna run this up here. Probably before I start fishing, what I'll do is I'm gonna wrap this with black tape, and then I'll do the same on the other one as well. So chafe guard, 2 crimps. This is gonna run up inside here, and we'll see how far it offsets. And then before I start fishing, I'm going to actually wrap that in electrical tape just to keep it, straight. So all this runs true in a straight line. All right, so you're gonna run that up in there. As you can see, that offset is almost perfect. It's actually a little bit longer than I want because I wanted to put a bead up in there, but I'll probably trim up the bottom side of that skirt so you can see that it's right at the back side of it. You want it to still be in the skirt so that it hides that hook, but I'll probably trim it so it's all nice and flat and flush. But yeah, so there's the first one there. All right, and then on this other side, this is gonna be the part that connects to your quick disconnect on your main line from your reel. So I'll probably be running these on Talica 50s or Tiagra 30s. I've got the setups right over here, Hitman custom rods, as always for my bigger stuff. But on this side, what we're gonna do is we're gonna run two crimps again. I like 2 crimps. I've always figured why not? The second crimp really won't do a whole lot, but it's a safety thing to me. I don't want to ever lose a fish because one of my crimps went bad. But cut this off here. All right, so we got that. Got the 2 crimps on here. And then what I'm gonna use for this side is a pre-made chafe guard that I already have. So this actually has the U-shape in it already, which is kind of cool. And all you do is you wrap it around that chafe guard, and then you just run it back into your 2 crimps here. That one going that way. Get that set just right. So then when I bring in my disconnect, if you don't get it tight enough, that chafe guard will actually there we go. All right, and then if you want, you can put a little twist in it, but I'm gonna keep it all nice and flat there. All right, and so you got those 2. Now let's crimp those down. So we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4 different squeezes on that for the crimps, and then that's all in a line, all nice and pretty. You've got the chafe guard here, so you don't have to worry about your mono getting chafed out by a piece of metal for your disconnect that's on there. And then this one will be good to go. And then we'll just repeat the process for the second lure. 1 crimp, 2 crimps, 3 crimps, and 4. All right, cool. All right, that one is all good now. It's got crimped on there. That is not going anywhere. Now, a lot of people run a lot longer leader, and there's a reason that I do like a 6 foot of this 300 pound. So when I bring in the snap swivel and I have that quick disconnect that's connected to this, it is usually only 2 people on the boat, 2 or 3. I don't really have someone to stay on the wheel. I don't have someone to lead her in, or hand in, the 30 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet IGFA rules has. So usually what I'll do is I'll make it to where whoever's on the rod, they can reel it up close enough to where they can almost handle that fish and bring it close to the boat so either I or someone can grab it. If you get a little longer than that, and that rod, whoever's on the rod can't pull it either way, that fish can go into the boat, it can get in the props. It just makes it easier for me when it is this short that you can almost reel that fish and the terminal tackle that's on here almost up to the last eyelet of the rod. Just easier for me. I know it's not that long, but I also have the 300 pounds, a little bit of chafe guard, to protect it as it's closer to the fish. So that's the way I like to run it, just because it makes it easier to try to land the fish when it gets close to the boat. If it's a big wahoo, you can reel it almost right up to the side of the boat, stick a gaff in it and pull it in the boat. So this one is done. As you can see, got that, pretty cool. And got the hook hiding in there. So when that big marlin comes behind it, it's gonna hit that, and then we'll be able to get them into the boat. So I'm gonna blow through this other one, and then I will show you the finished product when we're done. All right, so that's cool. Sticking that just outside of it, which is totally fine. And that's right up in there. So that should actually pull really nice. All right, now for this side. We got these done, double crimps on everything, chafe guard on our 300 pound Momoi, 15-inch skirted lures from Honu Lures, H-O-N-U. You should check them out. Seem to be pretty decent lures, and just rig it out yourself. You can buy the pre-made hook sets. They're 12-aught. This is braided stainless, trolling, I guess, hooks. I don't professionally marlin fish or anything like that. Caught a couple in my life, but don't really go for them often. But we go up to the oil rigs, a few times a year with my buddies, and this might work. So little bigger bait profile. We're gonna try them out in the Keys next week, see if we can get something a little bit bigger in the boat down there. But yeah, check them out. If you like this, like, subscribe, comment if there's anything that you're wondering about fishing or want rigged out. If there's any gear, I think I'm going to do some gear. I had some questions about, a Tiegra versus Italica, some of the spinning setup, Shimano versus Daiwa. I'm going to do some videos coming up here in the future about that. So yeah, check these out. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to subscribe, like, share it with your friends and family. If you have any questions about any of this, just let me know. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.